Yeah, we are live now. I've shared the link in the chat.
So let's wait for a minute or so, sir.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just posting it to social medias.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can start now. We can start.
So let us start. Yep. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the wonderful session of a global supply chain webinar series. So today we are talking about project procurement and its effect on supply chain management. And our guest speaker is none other than Mr. Raghavan. So let me just give you a quick introduction about Mr. Raghavan. Okay. So Engineer Raghavan is an accomplished leader in project procurement and management with over 40 years of experience. He has successfully spearheaded diverse projects and developed procurement teams and processes across global EPC, LSTK, and multiple clients. Okay. He is highly skilled in techno-commercial negotiations for various project items, including technology, engineering services, and work contracts, particularly within the oil and gas, pharma, and fabrication sector. So thank you, sir, for joining the session today.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul. Thank you very much. And
yeah, so
it's
thank you,
indeed
sir.
a pleasure to have a knowledge share sessions like this. And
Yeah.
happy to be part of Data Labs and deliver this knowledge
Thank you very
sharing
much.
session. Yeah.
Today we are talking about very interesting topic, project procurement. A project procurement is something which is very essential, and if you don't do it properly, it's not only about the time you lose, it's about commercial things, and if you don't do the project procurement properly, you may even end up in a disaster, a complete project failure. So every project a successful project procurement especially plays a key role, and if it is an infrastructure project, and that is like a mandatory. So we have a global expert, Mr. Raghavan, to talk about project procurement. So let us hear and enjoy the knowledge from Engineer Raghavan. So over to you, sir. So please, you may take it up and then.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And I will now try to share the presentation and start with that straight away.
Sure, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Please feel free to ask questions, and we will make it more interactive. Yeah.
Yes. You're able to see the screen?
Yeah, we are able to see. Please proceed, sir.
Okay. My name is Raghavan, and as Mr. Abdul introduced me with all nice words, I have 40 plus years of experience in the project procurement function. I would like to share some intricate aspects or insights on the project procurement and supply chain management. And I will take you through the process, what it normally, and as all of you are procurement and contract management practitioners, you will be able to appreciate certain striking differences which would be coming as compared to the regular operational maintenance, spares procurement, and regular raw materials procurement, etc. Everything has got its own challenge. This has got its own difference. Okay, this objective, as I explained and Mr. Abdul explained, is to share some practical insights and aspects, intricate or key aspects of project procurement, and various important steps involved in the subject, and aimed to provide basically a learning opportunity for the procurement and contract practitioners. That is the objective of this program. And what is project procurement? This is in my way, I have made this definition. Project procurement is an important project, as Mr. Kadir explained, that without this, you will not be able to build the project. And it is not that you will get all the materials on one day and next day you will be able to build the project. It has to come in a particular sequence. It depends on a timely availability of the materials as per a project program and as per the building sequence. That means building of the project, I mean to say. So it has to come with the availability of certain particular equipment, then it has to be followed by certain piping items, it has to be followed by electrical items, then it has to be followed by instruments, like that. A project procurement is, according to me, a bridge which connects the external world to the internal stakeholders of the project. And a project procurement manager in any project assumes the role of this, because there will be lots of overlapping roles between a project manager and a project procurement manager, because the functions are like that. And project procurement is, that is why is it part of the project management. It will consist of a procurement planning. It will also consist of a selection and then selection of the vendor, and you have to administer the whole execution of the procurement and also closing out process. So let me show you some of the roles of the project procurement manager. What are the roles? He involves in the coordination. He has to coordinate with the licensor. Who is the licensor? Who is the technology supplier or licensor? A detailed engineering contractor. Sometimes when there is a multiple project, you will have a so-called multiple detailed engineering contractors will be there under a PMC, which is called project management consultant. It will consist of different. Suppose I have 4 plants and 4 detailed engineering consultants are there. You will have a project management consultant managing those 4 people. That means you will have the project procurement manager has to engage a project management consultant as well as a detailed engineering company. And so you will coordinate with the project managers, of course, and the planning, stores, other things like inspection agency, accounts, custom clearance, exim team, logistics, freight forwarder, and of course the vendor companies. These are all coordination aspects of a project procurement manager. Then the pre-order stage, there will be a vendor list where he will be actively involved. There will be a strategy for this project procurement. He will be involved. Again, receipt of bids, evaluation as per the schedule. The project procurement particularly is always concerned with the time. If every project has got a completion time, whether it is 36 months, 42 months, and depending upon the project, infrastructure, petrochemicals, whatever it may be. So it is all related to time. Then next comes conditioning of the techno-commercial conditions, bid comparisons, negotiations, then minutes of meetings, approval, awards. Before there will be, as normally general practice is to give a letter of commitment before actual purchase, because the purchase order takes some time. And then you take the appointment of the third-party inspection agencies. We call it TPI, and there will be a pre-inspection meeting, what the TPI is going to do and what he is expecting the vendors to do and what the others have to do. That is defined in the pre-inspection meeting with the suppliers. So that is how the supplier's quality control knows what is expected out of the product in terms of the manufacturing quality. Next is on the post-order stage. There are lots of things which it is not enough. If you just place an order in a project, you have to see that the equipment or materials are delivered on time. And for that, lots of efforts and energies go from the project procurement group. So it involves a drawing data submission. That is the beginning. It has to be approved by the engineering consultant in a particular time frame, which is agreed, and procurement of raw materials for the vendor by the vendors. The procurement of raw bought out items. That means there will be some raw materials which they will manufacture in-house, and they will get a bought out items which will just straight away, they will fix it onto the equipment like that. And these are all the things, and there will be a start of manufacture, and you will have to monitor the progress of the manufacture, whether it is going as per the schedule or not. And there will be some sponsor management meetings. That means apart from the regular review meetings, the sponsor meetings are the meetings which are from the higher management of both the companies. That means the client, it could be engineering company, it could be from the vendor company. That is called a sponsor meeting. Then we have the risk assessment, which is very, very important for any project. The risk assessment is a continuous process, and risk assessment and mitigation. See, this will be a dynamic situation as the situation develops. Today it will not be a risky affair. Tomorrow it will become a risky affair. So this risk mitigation itself is a separate topic which we have to delve at least a couple of hours to deal with that, understand various risks, how to mitigate that, how to monitor that. Then you have coordination with the deviation acceptances. That means once your vendor takes an order, he comes out with a deviation during the course of execution of the order. So it becomes a bottleneck. That means it affects the delivery. So it has to be resolved, whether it is a vendor's mistake or our mistake or whomsoever it is. The resolution has to be brought in a reasonably quick time. That is the dynamism of the project procurement manager and his group. Then the final inspection note, release and acceptance, and dispatch clearance. These are all formal things, but it has to be done on a systematic sequence. Otherwise, things will get missed out. Some equipment, if it goes without a dispatch clearance, you had it, it will not be accounted at site and they will have lots of problems. And finally, a procurement closeout. The procurement closeout deals with the whole it could be a delays in delivery, it could be sometimes ahead of delivery, there will be a bonus calculation. So the whole thing, there will be a change order settlement, because there very frequently the project, in spite of our meticulous planning, there will be some scope creep, what we call it, or scope changes. This is inevitable. So, but it has to be smartly settled, quickly settled between the buyer and the seller. That is where the challenge is. If you lose time on that, it can kill a project again, change order settlements. And if you take a stand on that, then also it becomes a problem, because the project completion time and the cost is at most important for anything, and without compromising on quality and safety. Definitely, this is the mantra for a project procurement. And final documentation, this is also important. I have highlighted here drawings, IBR certifications. It will be O&M manual for running a machine. There should be an operating manual. It should be soft copy, hard copy. It will, all kinds of things are required. But if the vendor doesn't supply this, you are at a disadvantage and you cannot commission the plant, or if any troubleshoot comes, you will not know what to do. And similarly, Indian boiler regulations is the IBR, and the IBR regulations call for certain certifications before the plant is commissioned. Simple. So if that is not there, it is as good as you cannot commission the plant. So it is so vital, although it is so simple as IBR it is written. And any back charges and reconciliations are also discussed, so that sometimes we may give some materials, may be shortfall. The client might give it from their store, so I may have to back charge. So this type of things are resolved, so that is the closeout phase. Any questions so far? Anybody?
Yeah. This role, project procurement manager.
Yes.
Okay, I think it's a very critical role. Okay?
Yes.
How is it positioned in the organization structure? Like
it depends on the organization to organization, but predominantly the overall in charge is the project management, or project manager is the overall in charge, and under him is the project procurement manager. So that the idea of keeping that type of an organization is the project manager is supposed to be overall control of the time frame. So if a project procurement manager overdoes or underdoes, he can step in and sort of moderate that. That is the idea. But there are companies where procurement is a separate vertical, and it is attached to the higher management of director or somebody, and the project procurement manager, chief procurement officer, and of CPO. All these things are also coming up today, because they say that the concept is you don't want to be driven by the project manager for the sake of time. No, you should not compromise on quality, or you should not compromise on pricing, strategies. Sometimes the project manager doesn't understand the strategically. We have to wait for a few days to take a decision. He'll say, no, I have to take a decision today. Something like that.
Yeah. He will push for the...
Yes, he will be. His only motto is time. So he will keep on pushing for the time. So he will not allow us that leeway to spend on other factors. That is the idea.
Perfect, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I continue. So first is the selection of technology licensor. The selection Sometimes it can be in-house developed. If you have an R&D in the company, they will develop the technology over a period of time. So it could be a technology developed in-house. It could be an external. More often, America, Europe, all these countries, they have developed over a period of time the technologies by operating the plant, collecting the data, and developing a process engineering package by themselves for various capacities. And they also have a patent and they have a right to sell this technology. So they obtain a patent and they have a right to sell anywhere in the world. So such companies are available, and this will be known by the in-house experts or who are specializing in the technology selection. There will be a team, and they will be appraised with the latest technology, which is version 2, version 3, whatever it may be. And they will be involved in search of the technologies. And then the comparison of the technologies, it will be normally on the throughput, quality, size of the plants. See, for example, if I put up a plant of a PVC plant of 250,000 tons per annum as the capacity, so the throughput could be 249.5 or whatever it may be, or it could be 251 or whatever it may be. See, it could vary for slightly but they will say guaranteed is 250. And this throughput varies with processes to processes, and there will be some machined processes where they will give definitely, they will say when we say 250, you will definitely get 255,000. You will never get anything less than 250. They will be guaranteed. They will be boldly telling. See, that technology definitely, as a client, when I am putting up a project, I get to have 5,000 tons more of the product. So definitely there's an advantage. So same way, quality and what size of quality, what grade of purity it gets and the product, and what is the impurities, allowable impurities. This kind of variations will be there from the technology. That is what is the steps for the comparison. And also the size of the plants depends on the economics. So if I have to spend so much money, I can put 250,000. If I have a higher money, I will be able to get 500,000 tons. That means double the plant capacity. So which is economical for me as a client? And in terms of space, what is occupying 250,000 may be occupying X space, 500 may be occupying X plus some 50% more. So if I have space more, okay, I would go for 500,000. And when I go for 500,000, I can have a flexibility of 2 plants of 250,000. So that means when the need is not there, I can shut down one plant, or I can take on plant on maintenance. These are all certain criteria on which this is done. And selection is also utilities consumption, raw materials consumption, which are going into the process, energy which is consumed on a particular process could be variant. So, and these are all the things which are used for comparison on selection. And also reputation in terms of the sustained quality. So we get to have feedbacks from the other clients who have put up a plant. Yes, I have purchased technology from so and so DuPont, and this is giving me 500,000. Always it gives 550,000. Never it has given 500, less than 500. Something like that. The feedback comes. It gives the confidence for the buying team when I'm putting up a new project. So I get to have this type of feedbacks. And these are all things which are required for comparison. And normally the technology fee is a one-time fee. It could be, say, 10 million or whatever it may be the fee. But there will be sometimes there will be a catch there. There will be output oriented. As I just now said in the example, if I'm putting up a 500,000 tons plant, the fees is 10 million. If I'm getting 550,000, then 50,000 extra will be also subject to some royalty fees or something like that, because we are using their process and we are getting something mileage out of it. So they try to ask for this question. These kind of things need to be discussed and agreed. Whether you want to pay or you don't want to pay is a different thing, but it has to be discussed and agreed. These are all certain catches which come in the technology selection. Some people are very fussy, and it's also some people are very emphasize on certain vendor list for key items. They will say that these are all the items on the basis of which I give the guarantee for the final product or final quality or quantity. So you have to go for dryers to some TSA company in Japan. There is some other reactor. You have to go to a company in China, whatever it may be. That is the kind of thing, because based on their past experiences, they will share, and that has to be taken into account. And some of the key equipment, sometimes they will say that we would like to have participation in the final inspection also. So that means the finish of the reactor. It has to be smooth finish. So if that is there, they would like to come, and their inspector would like to, technology licensor inspector will come and clear that. Then only it is fit for sort of use in the process. So this kind of things project procurement manager should know, so that when we are buying the reactor, we have to insist on this, and we have to create a stage for that kind of inspection by the licensor. And interfaces with the detailed engineering company, they would have worked with certain companies, and what are the stages they will have approvals and interfaces. These are also defined by them. And the last 2 points are process commissioning assistance. Without their process commissioning assistance, we cannot commission the plant, number one. Number two, just like even a refrigerator or a washing machine, their machine person has to come, and in his presence, if you start, the warranty kicks in. Same way, the process engineers have to be called from Europe or USA or where the technology comes from, and they have to be stationed, let's say for 15 days or 1 month, depending upon the time required. And those type of stay, travel, all those, they will expect a 5-star stay. The sites will not have 5-star hotel, obviously. So all these kind of challenges will be there for a procurement manager. So it just need to be understood well in advance, so that the purpose is so that you can anticipate and you can provide the best solution when you are discussing with the licensors. Similarly, establishing the quality throughput, there is a methodology and procedure and protocol. How long, whether the plant will consistently, if it gives 24 hours, fine, this is considered to be accepted. After 25th hour, if it brings down, it is not any consequence. But the point here is, whether it is 24 hours or 12 hours or whatever is the period, it will be continuously running. What are the measurements it will be taken? Who will be present? And what are the meters it will be checked? All kinds of things need to be precisely agreed. Otherwise, it will end up in a dispute and we will never complete the project. So this is one of the key points. So let me go to the selection of detailed engineering contractor. The scope here is the licensor gives a broad scope, and he gives some utilities for his process. And with this, the plot is given, but what is the plot size which we have in the customer? And the detail engineering contractor or company. Yeah.
Licensor, I have a question. So
yes.
This licensor is very important, because he's the one who is basically he give guidance how to what kind of technology you need to select. So he gives the overall idea about the what kind of equipment, where is the source, and those things. So how to find them? It depends on the industry, right? So what is the best?
Best way to find them is, through the technical magazines like, Chemical Engineering World and Chemical Engineering, all those kind of type of publications. They always participate in a lot of papers and submission of papers and R&D papers. So they have, for example, ammonia. Ammonia means they have found out the latest technology for ammonia. This is what it is and all this. So, so-and-so company it gives the technology for ammonia. Same way for PVC, for example, there are companies in Japan, there are companies in Germany, there are companies in elsewhere giving the technologies. So they all have some conferences, technology conferences they provide, and what is their cutting edge compared to the other competitors, and all those things are discussed over there. So it will be high technical subject. So process engineers normally who are familiar with the complete process details and technical chemical engineering details, these kind of people participate in that, and they develop a flair to know, okay, A technology has got these points, B technology may be cheaper, but it has got certain deficiencies for A, B, C. So depending upon the market, if I'm in a market where B product is okay, I may go in for that. And if I may, there may be a possibility of upgrading from B to A. That is also possible. So there are, depending upon the client and market situation, what is needed in the market, is technology suppliers or preferred from that ranking. That is how it is.
Very interesting. And
Yes.
this licensor
Yes.
is not only from the beginning; he will be available from the beginning to the end. So
Yes, he will be from the start to end. Yes, it is from cradle to grave. So we call it, their blessing is required. Without them, we cannot build the plant. Simply, all the petrochemical plants depend on heavily on, even today, people, large people like Reliance and so many companies are there, but we have not been able to establish our own technology to the extent what they have developed. So that is why it is not that we are incompetent or anything, but the point here is they have established a track record for a longer time. And when any entrepreneur is putting up the money, why would he? No, he would not hesitate, and he would like to go to the best technology possible. That's the idea.
that's correct. Yep.
Yes.
Please proceed, sir.
Yeah. So the detail engineering contractor develops all this plot plan. The plot size is given, plot development. So where the gate has to come, where the store has to come, where actually the process plant will come, where the utilities have to be positioned so that it gives the proper flow to the process plants, and how maintenance friendly it will be. And if a truck goes to the store, it should be going from one end, if it goes to the other end. So all these type of things are all developed by the detail engineering contractors based on the licensor inputs. They will share some of the plot plans and things like that they have developed for other clients, those things as a guidance. So, and with the available, see, my plot may be very small, so they may have to try to accommodate it in somehow or other. Then whether you will have a second story to keep it in the first floor or something like that. All these kind of things are done. And they develop completely civil, mechanical, electrical, piping, instrumentation design, completely EPC. That means engineering, procurement, and construction. Complete aspects they will have to take care. And that is their major responsibility. The conversion of the licensor's technology into a detailed engineering package rests with the detail engineering contractor. So the selection of these people are also very, very vital, because if they don't do, and if they don't perform a proper engineering, then the whole project can again go for a toss. So the licensor cannot do anything, because licensor is only technology supplier. It has to be developed into a good detail engineering company. And for that, actually, competent engineers are required. So you have to have a selection, like you have got EAL, you have got Uday engineers, and you have got Acre Solutions, you have got Worley Parsons, you have got Wood, and so many engineering companies are there, internationally well-known companies, and they are all operating in India. And so they may have sometimes take the technology or some engineering inputs, specialized inputs from their parent company, from their Italy or Europe or wherever they are, and they operate in India. Sometimes like people like Engineers India are very well equipped to do everything in India in terms of all petrochemicals or refineries or any kind of projects. So there, the dealing with them is normally based on the engineering deliverables, contract duration, and whether they have an experienced people they are deploying, or sometimes they will try to put a mixture of experienced and less experienced people. So people, we will have to get the CV and get it vetted by our own project team, whether these guys are acceptable or not acceptable, because we don't want any rookies to come and handle our project and then getting into some difficulties later on, which will have an impact on time and cost again. So these are all things. And piping, they will normally, it is done as a model study for the plant. So the miniature model is prepared by this piping model study. And nowadays, what is happening is the software used in engineering compatibility with the client system. So because earlier days, the drawings used to go back and forth from the engineering office to the client office. Nowadays, everything is handled online. And when it is being done online, you need to have softwares. So that means if I am the client, I should have a software compatible to the engineering company's software. Otherwise, there will be version differences and this difference, that difference, then there I won't be able to see the drawing and you won't be able to do this. Adjustments have to be done also in the beginning. If I don't have as a client, I may not be requiring on a normal day. So today I'm putting a project, so I may have to invest on some softwares in order to meet with these type of thing, because this saves hell of a lot of our time. If he sends the drawing today, I get it today. And whereas in the conventional thing, the drawings used to come after 1 week. So that time is not available in project management today. So that is very important. And this detail engineering companies also operate on a lump sum fee, plus they have a man-hour rate, and they have something called an estimated man-hours, and then how they will handle the change order, because there is an initial scope is something, and if you start changing, because as a client, sometimes, I will say today I would have given an approval. Let's say, okay, the store should be in the northeast corner. Then tomorrow I have brainstorming session within my company, and I change from northeast corner, I change it to southeast corner or some other corner. So if I do the change, then I will have to, the engineering company incurs man hours. So they will have to charge that. So we should be aware of this, and that is why this change order handling and man hour rates.
Sir, I have one question here. So
Yeah.
this EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction,
Yeah.
sometimes they split to two different parties, 2 or 3 different parties based on the need. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So that is one thing. So that is also possible.
Yes.
That you give the engineering part to somebody else and then procurement and construction part to somebody else. That is also possible. And is this software we are talking about modeling, especially drawings? Is it like something like a BMI?
Yeah. Correct.
So I have seen that. So the
Yeah.
complete plan,
Yeah.
including the floors and then the piping and everything is visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In that view, the end user, the project team, okay,
Yeah.
so they will be able to just navigate and even see a very simple, a single machine,
Right.
single
That is
motor,
true.
anything.
That is also, in addition to that, what happens is, say for example, an approved for a civil construction drawing for a foundation or something like that is being released by the engineering company to the site. This also requires a software, and the client side, there will be a corresponding civil engineers or somebody who would like to verify whether all these things are properly covered. See, the engineering contractor has to be monitored by a corresponding team in the client company. So for each discipline, you will have some engineers, and these people will be monitoring the respective disciplines and drawings which are being issued. And the model, as you rightly said, the model study also is being done. And these require software compatibilities, and sometimes the engineering companies may be having a shortfall on certain softwares, so they will need to upgrade it. If they need to upgrade it, they will add their fees also, upgradation in their detail engineering fees. Some other, even you are comparing with the 2 detail engineering companies, one fellow will be highly equipped with the software, so his fees will be lesser. Whereas this guy, he has to take a license for getting a software, so his fees will be higher because of this factor. So although his competence and capability may be comparable, but sometimes because of this, we may be incurring higher costs. That is also there.
That is true, sir. Yeah.
So next is a procurement plan, and a planning is developed from the overall project plan. If the overall project plan is, let's say, 42 months or 36 months, from there, a procurement plan is developed when the equipment have to come. If the 36th month is the completion date and or commissioning date, then it is backworked from there when the mechanical completion will be there. And if mechanical completion will be there, when the equipment will have to come for erection, and when the equipment, if the equipment has to come there, then what is the delivery of the equipment? Like that, they will try to backwork, and they will the normal softwares used or Primavera softwares are used for large projects, and these long lead items and over-dimensional cargo are also identified. This is very important for a project, because over-dimensional cargo, right from the process licensors input, they will know these are all there will be column, there will be some reactor and things like that. They will be identified. These items sometimes one is a long lead and another is sometimes over dimensional. So like we had an ethylene reactor, I remember. We got it from Japan, 1,200, no, 750 tons. And it is a huge, huge thing which came in a ship. And the transportation and right from the day when it is manufacturing is over to bring it is a separate project by itself, to movement of the over dimensional cargo. So we need to identify this and then have the come back from the work backwards and come to the issue of request for quotation, when it is to be issued, when the specification should be made ready. That's how they make the whole priorities list of critical items and what are the critical items which are coming in the project. And based on the preliminary sizing, a grouping is done by this detail engineering contractor. See, for example, normally in the petrochemical plant, we have something called a static equipment, something called rotary equipment, and then third is called the packages. This is the broad category. So the static equipment are nothing but vessels or pressure vessels, which are just standing fabricated equipment. And then under that, you have heat exchangers, columns, and pressure vessels. You have a subdivision of the static equipment. Then rotary equipments are all compressors, pumps, and anything rotation in nature is rotary equipment. And motors and all those things come under that category. And then you have packages is normally it could be a water treatment package, it could be a reverse osmosis package, it could be an effluent treatment package. And this kind of packages will come with completely, it is an EPC package again. It will have an engineering, it will have again the procurement within that EPC thing, and whole thing will be done by a company and with an EPC phenomena, and that has to merge with that. That means whatever we are doing in a big scale, they will be doing in a small scale for that particular project. That is a package item. So that has also got its own engineering, that whatever I just now said, engineering, detail engineering, it has got its own model study and piping, everything will be incorporated over there. So these are all the way the grouping is done. And like heat exchangers, they will group it together, and large heat exchangers, medium heat exchangers, so that one RFQ is not becoming bulky. And no, it should be possible for vendors to handle in terms of their capacity and in terms of financial status, etc. And licensor specific special requirements and compliance for inspection are also taken care of. And ODC, as I said, discuss the strategy for movement, how it will be coming. A column of, largest piece in a trailer in India can be 18 meters. So if my column is 36 meters, then I have to necessarily think of making it into two pieces, 18 meters and 18 meters, and then do it at site. Then how will you do it at site? There will be an agency required at site. There will be a space required at site. There will be some safety considerations required at site. All these things have to be thought of by the project procurement manager well in advance. And sometimes two pieces can become three pieces also. And it could be a challenge how to go about doing the thing, then how it will be vertically erected, or whether it will be kept in vertical position and done, or it will be done in a horizontal position and then erected. So there are innumerable options over there. And similarly, considering all this, a procurement plan is developed and it is issued and then monitored on weekly meetings, how the progresses are being made.
Sir, one question here, sir.
Yeah,
so this project procurement plan is very critical. I have witnessed it. See, if you receive the equipment and machines and all early, and or on time, and then you delay the project. Actually, all these machines will be laying there in the packet, because the OEM guy, he will not accept if you open it. Okay, so it should be in the intact stage. Okay, and even it is connected to payments.
Yes.
So you pay after 6 months or whatever, after sometimes even 8 months.
Many times before you install, the warranty is lost.
The warranty is lost, and then
that is also there.
And if it is like a international thing, so there is a currency exchange.
Yes.
So even the pricing will be it will shoot up if there is any inflation.
Yes.
So this is very critical. Okay,
Yes.
very rarely people understand, and it's very high value items.
Yes, we are talking about high value items, and then see when you are adding to this is in terms of the shipping also. So what happens if the vendor is overseas vendor, if he has prepared manufactured the equipment and kept it ready, and if you don't pick it up because our project is not ready, my foundation is not ready, then he will charge me because he is keeping it in the warehouse. He is not going to keep me free of charge. He will put it in some warehouse, and the handling becomes difficult, and then arranging the ship or rescheduling the ship becomes difficult. So there are lots of implications. It has to be coordinated properly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then project vendor list. This is also one of the strategies actually in the project, but it is mandatory for the timely completion of the project and the discipline, mainly discipline, because the project procurement manager obviously in a country like India and any other country also, you are guided not only by your own management. There are lots of pressures from the management. From somebody wants to be a friend of the MD, and then he wants to say that you please include my name also as the part of the vendor list. So there has to be a discipline. You cannot enter anybody as you feel like. And here there is a guidance given by the licensors, as well as now we have two agencies, the licensor, you have got a detail engineering contractor. Both of them give their guidance. Their experiences are all shared with us, and our own experience are also there. So based on this, there is it's a very important milestone in a project is to prepare a proper vendor list. And so who are the competent vendors and who have got a reputation? These fellows are picked up for each and every category of item: mechanical, electrical, piping, bulk, valves, instrumentation, everything. It is made, it may be sometimes a 30, 40 page or 50 page vendor list for each one, and with alternatives. And if it is a government project, and imagine it will be, instead of 5 vendors, there will be 15 vendors. So obviously, when the RFQ has to go to 15 people and get the response, obviously everything relates to the time. So that's how the time becomes more in a public sector and government projects. Whereas in a private sector projects, we'll normally limit to 3 or 5 or something like that, who are the best vendors. 5 vendors or 3 vendors are good enough, and we don't have to keep on muddling our time and wasting our time, project time, in the evaluating 10 vendors. That's how we go. Then same way, contractors, major contractors list at the site: contracts, civil, mechanical, piping, electrical, or with including the subcontractors, because all the contractors do not operate on their own. They have engaged subcontractors. So it is important to know and fix who are the subcontractors. It could be A and B. Some options could be there. That is also all right, but it should be spelled out clearly. It is not just like you give the contract and they engage any Tom, Dick, and Harry, and that becomes a problem of not only quality but also safety. So
Safety,
both are
and it's
safety.
also it should be in the part of legal loop.
Yes.
Okay, so if they are not compliant
Yes.
into these rules and regulations, it will be a big problem. And many times it happens, especially with the civil contractors, are in my experience. Okay,
Yes.
so usually, the civil contractors, if you outsource it, there will be always a problem in the plant.
Correct. So then this for this computing this vendor list, normally the factors are all past experience, financial stability, what are the risks we undergo with them, and vendor ratings from the supplier relationship management group. They will give the supplier rating is A grade, somebody is B grade, yes, put us in trouble in the previous projects, etc. So you have to exercise caution. So those type of feedbacks we get. And sometimes some of the European licenses are allergic. I have worked on some few projects where they clearly say Chinese sourcing is stopped. Today it may be very difficult, but at the same time, it's a fact remains that they don't want any Chinese origin materials, because they have burnt their fingers, the licensors, based on Chinese origin goods, and coming and failing at the last moment in the project. So they clearly, and then they have problem of pilfering the technology by the Chinese. So they are very, very cautious about it. And those kind of things we have to take care right at the time of vendor list, so that the vendor, somebody may be having a tie-up with a Chinese company. So obviously he cannot be giving us. So if he is going to be the vendor in our vendor list, then we will get less vendors. He will not be able to quote, or even if he quotes, we will not be able to consider him. So that kind of a thing, and deal with the deviations in the vendor list. Once you give the vendor list, these are all my approved sub vendors for piping. If you give it to a package vendor, he will say, no, I want to add this, I want to delete this. They will come out with some deviations. This should be also discussed in the pre-order stage or pre-award, not leave it at, vendor list. No, it's a minor item, we'll deal with this later. No, it has to be done prior to the award of the order. It has to be taken into serious consideration. Yeah, I go to the next point. Strategic sourcing is extending beyond purchasing, and it focuses and converging on the sustaining buyer and supplier relationship. So it is basically incorporating any of these quality management practices. There are certain vendors who are used to me as a client. So they will come, my quality inspector would have gone to their shop, they would have established this is my acceptable quality and you better maintain that. And they have also accepted it and they are maintaining it. So I have an excellent sort of a confidence. If I go to this vendor, I don't get any quality rejections. So this kind of a thing. And process capabilities. Some people have developed good in-house process capabilities which are helpful to me. So I would definitely like to consider them. There are some people who are willing to do a design and development for me. Even though project, we are always, as per the previous slide, we are supposed to go to the established vendors. We don't want to do experiments and trials and juggards in the project. But sometimes we are forced to do that. So we have, we should have a provision for that. And there should be people who are willing to do and design and development of a new product which will work. Because I will tell you an example. We had a waste incinerator in one of the project. The waste incinerator is the process waste. It has to be just dumped. There is no value for that. But due to environmental conditions, it has to be processed and then sent out. If it has to be processed and sent out, the only way is incinerator, which is nothing but burning. So I have to put a lot of fuel and burn it. That incinerator costed me 14 million US dollars. So the management said that, okay, you spent 14 million US dollar, but for what? Purpose is what? You're just burning some waste and throwing. Is it not anything better? You fellows cannot do anything better. So this thought came to all the team. And we found out with our own existing plants, R&Ds and other things, we got this waste, some bags of waste, and we went to another supplier who is making something called a flaker. It will it will just put it on a pan of just like a dosa pan or pizza pan or whatever it may be, and it sucks all the thing by way of a vacuum, and then this whole things gets dried. And this dried is it is put on a roller type of a thing to scrape it, and it's considered as a flaker. It is, and it is used in some process industry. We have not tried in this particular waste. Then we said that why not you do some experiment quickly. Then he did some few experiments, and it was successful. It was acceptable to us. So then we developed that to suit our capacity. He has been manufacturing, let's say, 5 tons, and we require, let's say, 15 tons. That means he has to scale up his manufacturing. So we did all this supporting him. And for him, it is a new product development. For us, it is a useful thing to save some money from $14 million. So we finished the whole project within probably, he developed the machine and all those things. We would have probably spent 1 million or at the best even less than that. And we could get a useful product. And we saved the project cost. Originally it was budgeted with an incinerator, but the thought process came during the time of implementation. This is the kind of a thing which will happen when you have these strategies have to be developed with a new vendor. And cost reduction capabilities also are possible. This will come from the vendors. Sometimes if you do like this, instead of hi-fi specifications, you can have it. It is a fit for purpose. It is good enough. So it has to be examined by the project procurement manager. Some examples or like capacity booking is also one of the things. Like if I have a project which I have got, like let's say 1,000 pumps are there, process pumps are there. Instead of going with the lowest and going to 10 fellows and splitting my head and orders, I can go whoever is sort of a most economical vendor and technically acceptable vendor. I can go and ask them, what is your shop capacity? He says, I produce 500 pumps. So I book the whole capacity of the shop for me, for my order. An entire shop will be doing only my orders for that particular period or whatever months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever is the delivery time. Similarly, I go and book another fellow for his whole order, 2 vendors. So 500, I finish off with this. Instead of breaking my 1,000 pieces into 10 vendors of each fellow, 10 pieces and 10 different models. And then for that 10 different models, I have to keep 10 different spares and things like that. So it is also a strategy to do like this type of a thinking and then book the capacities of the plant. That fellow is happy. His whole plant is booked. So with one single order. So he's happy. So this is a strategy. Similarly, HVAC system, as you rightly said in the beginning, EPC split. See, HVAC, if you go to a specialist vendor like Voltas or anybody, you can give it completely on EPC basis. They will hand over the key and they'll commission the plant and give it to you. That is one method. But if you want to stretch yourself and strain yourself, you can split the components. There are air conditioners or there, diffusers or there, this is there, filters are there, all kinds of things, components. You get it done, engineering and the bill of materials, you get it done. You procure from all the different agencies and then get a site contractor to assemble it, and it takes individual equipment fellows come and do their installation, and the site contractor does the coordination of putting it together. So both have got its own advantages, disadvantages. It all depends on which company we are working for, what company management is expecting us to do, and that's the way we have to adapt ourselves. Okay. Same way, pipe spools also the same way. The pipe spools can be manufactured by the company on a completely. If you go to Larsen and Toubro, they will manufacture the pipe fitting and pipe spool. They will develop a pipe spool. But if I get all the pipe pieces like elbows, flanges, fittings, all those things, and then I go to a fabricator and get it done, I can get it done in a pipe spool that way also. So it's all these strategies have to be properly understood for the depending upon the duration of the project and what is the management philosophy of the company.
Very interesting, sir.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So the request for quotation, it has to be as per the vendor list, the issue of request for quotation, and the time to be given for this response should be reasonable. Otherwise, people will never touch that. If you ask them to give it in 1 week, they will never give it in 1 week. So it has to be complete with the tech. More often people ignore this step because it is done now more online, as I have given in the last point, like platforms and SAP, Oracle and all those things. So they forget to attach something and that fellow forgets to download something. All kinds of things happen. And with the result, they have not read the specification or they have not done any due diligence to read through the specifications. So those things have to be taken care. But important thing is what is the scope and technical specification, scope of supply, list of drawings, documents required, what is the time frame, what is the final documentation we require, what are the tests, what are the inspections, what are the site services, spares. Normally for project orders, it is normal practice to order the commissioning as well as 2 years of operational spares also, so that if at all at the time of commissioning, if anything fails, you don't have to run around doing an ordering at that time. So you have it in the stores and you just take it and fit it. So these kind of strategies have to be very clear and it should be spelled out very clearly in the request for quotation, that this is what I want. So that because more often the equipment people who are quoting will be a separate group and spares group will be a separate group. So they will not quote for spares along with the equipment. So you may have to insist they have to work together from the vendor company and give us a quotation on a collective basis. And the bids received both the technical, commercial as per the project schedule, and extensions if required is authorized by the project procurement manager. And This is normally managed RFQ and bids receipt, and all these things are managed through platforms nowadays with Oracle and SAP platforms. This is next is scope of supply. Again, it is very important point which is in the project procurement, in my opinion, is one of the most important points which any procurement practitioners have to spend the time. It has to be on scope of supply, because this is what makes a difference between A and B and C, the vendors difference. And somebody quietly, they will write it as an exclusion. Somebody will say that this is to be provided by client and all kinds of things. And so more clarity should be there. If there is the execution has to be made simple for the purposes of engineering contractor, DEC, as well as site, as well as owner. To give an example, the equipment is ordered, but we never knew who is ordering the foundation board. Is it in the scope of the equipment supplier, or is it in the equipment supplier says that you have to provide? So then so where will we provide? So this kind of a confusion is very common. So normally we put this type of things in a scope matrix also. And who is supplying what? Okay, foundation board. It is given by the details are given by the equipment supplier. Then if it is procured by the client, yes, procured by the client. If it is procured by the vendor himself, yes, whose make and what are the makes, etc., has to be very clear. And it has to come earlier than the equipment arrival, so that it is embedded in the foundation, so that the equipment goes and sits onto this. This is very important. This may be looking minor, but more often procurement practitioners tend to ignore, because they are always fond of negotiations. So they don't give attention to this. This is important. And packages, how it is coming. It may be coming in 10 containers. And how it is going to be assembled at site, who is going to do that assembly, whether vendor company, whether they will send a supervisor or they will send only supervisor, and I have to arrange for the workers team, semi-skilled workers from here. All this understanding and is required, and commissioning, installation, assistance, and support from the vendor, who will be the expert engineer, who will come, how long he will come, and all these kind of discussions need to take place. And it should be available in the scope of supply document, which is provided by the vendor. If it is not, we have to ask for questions and get this clarified. And same way, deviations furnished by the vendors, and this need to be coordinated to bring all vendors at par. And exclusions have to be also understood. What is the kind of exclusion? If somebody cannot give something firmly for some reasons, their organization, then we have to consider it for a loading. If others are all giving, then correspondingly some loading factor has to be considered at the time of commercial evaluation for this purpose. Then value engineering proposal furnished by the vendor. See, we used to get, to give an example of the value engineering, it can be in the form of see, previously we used to get a carbon steel pipe, which is buried underground for the fire, water, or various purposes. So these pipes used to be carbon steel pipe or cast steel, which used to get corroded. So they used to give something called a coating, corrosion coating inside. This corrosion coating was developed by our Kirloskar pumps, the same people. They used to have a division called Coro coating. And so what they used to do is they will do it at site, or they will they have a team to come to site and do it, or otherwise they have their shop also. So if I buy a bulk pipe, I have to send it to Kirloskar, and they will do the coating for 10 days, and then it will go to site. Then only it will be fit for installation in underground. This used to be the case earlier. So what used to happen is there will be a lot of queue around Kirloskar, or there will be a lot of pressure to them to come to site and do it, or do all these kind of things, and work gets stuck up there. So nowadays what is happening is there is a CPVC and other things are coming. These materials are no need of corrosion problem, and they have the inherent strength to withstand all these pressures and other things. So people come out, the vendors, this come out in the value engineering proposed by vendor. So your specification is calling for a carbon steel with a corrosion coating and all the things. I will give you CPVC. What is your problem? It is not increasing your cost, but it is on the contrary. It is, it is healthy, and it is, I can get it faster, and it is lighter material. What is the problem? Anyway, it is going to go underground. So this suggestion was helpful for us because it saved substantial time of logistics of going to Kirloskar, getting it coated, bringing it to site and things like that. So this similar type of value engineering proposals will be coming because our specifications, detail engineering contractors, licenses, with all due respects to them, they have gone by time-tested methods. But the test technology is improving today and the new products are coming. This will be all known to the vendors who are handling day to day, and they will come out with the suggestions. It is not necessary that they are trying to short circuit. It is always, if you look at it positive, a lot of positive things happen there. And it is the project procurement manager who has to take lead and understand such things and take it up, raise it up within the organization and get it moving so that it helps the overall project time schedule.
Sir, I have one question here.
Yes.
This value engineering is something which is very important.
Yeah.
And especially the CEOs, the owners, they like it. Okay.
Yeah.
And even the vendors, they talk very high about it.
Yeah.
In reality, when it comes to value engineering, the same people who are into the projects, they are part of this team also. So will they really, in practice, are they really paying attention to this value engineering? So what is your experience?
My experience is, yes, they do. If the client side project CEOs and other people are involved, and if they are technical based CEOs, definitely this will have a merit. Because if there are some CEOs who are commercial based people, that is a different case. Whereas I'm talking about technical and techno-commercial people heading the organization, this value engineering has proven to be much useful. And see, like example, if I across the company and across the project, if I decide for a DCS system, this is the kind of vendor for an instrumentation item. And when it comes to the packages, I will also insist on the same vendor, for example, to be given the instrumentation package and things like that. So if he is giving the same system as much as the big package, and again, there is a lot of money being put. This is from the compatibility point of view. But at the same time, for a small packages, mechanical engineering packages, there are instrumentation items which are compatible to the main thing. At the same time, it is coming on a lesser price, and it may not have all the features of all the things, but this is adequate for a water treatment plant. You don't require an elaborate a DCS system or something like that. Whereas in the operating a petrochemical plant, yes, we require a complete DCS system, everything. There is no question of compromise on that. So if I also insist on a complete DCS system of the same make, just to have the compatibility everywhere, left, right, and center, then it will increase my cost, obviously. So if the vendor is coming out with a lesser version or of the same company or same product, etc., which will have equal compatibility and it will also do the job, yes, value engineering prevails over there. For easy way for me is as an instrumentation. If I ask my instrumentation engineer, he will say that, sir, Honeywell is the product. You better go for Honeywell only. Don't close your eyes and buy Honeywell, sir. Don't get into the thing. So if I have to go into the details, then yes, I can bring in some savings.
Good. Yep.
Yeah. Next is the technical bid analysis, and here the consultant, whoever is there, the detail engineering company, they raise the technical queries to the people wherever there are clarifications required, and sometimes the technical queries replies take longer time, so the project procurement manager has to facilitate the replies. Then the drawing data schedule submission has to be also discussed and agreed when the vendor will submit his drawings. And this technical bid evaluation from the consultants also need to address what is the technical expertise available with each vendor and what is his market in the market, what are their rating and how they are viewed by the thing, because they are consultant. They are not only doing consultant for me, but they are consultants for some other clients also, and they are expected to know. And they will also know the shop loading. They are supposed to know. This type of things are sometimes they may not do the full job. So it is our responsibility as a project procurement manager to sort of cajole them and make them to do all this work, because they are getting paid for the man hours for whatever they are expending. And availability of raw materials, delivery schedule, how they will do the methodology of execution, methodology of the order. All these things have to be evaluated in the technical bid. And if the vendor is, asking for claiming some advantages, etc., that need to be not just copied and pasted in the no Excel chart, but it has to be examined by them and understood by them and explained to the client. That is what is their role. And it is of the PPM to ask. If the technical bid evaluation comes, you can just accept it, or you can ask questions on that to understand, go deep dive into it and understand the product better. And normally the technical acceptance has to be clear, and otherwise they sometimes have a tendency to give a conditional acceptance. If the vendor gives this, yes, he is acceptable. Otherwise, he is not acceptable. No, but who will do that if he gives the 1, 2, 3? That is your job. You pass on the buck to the next side, that is to me as a commercial guy or procurement guy. So these kind of things do happen in spite of that, whatever I have written, but in practice, it will all happen. But one has to be a bit careful. That is why I have highlighted here. That's it.
Perfect, sir. And this is also very important as far as the risk is concerned.
Yeah.
Okay, if there is some unfortunate thing happens.
Yeah.
Okay. If this step is not done properly, there is a possibility that you miss something and there is some accident happened. Later, who is responsible? Who approved these technical bids? All this comes into picture.
Yes. Yes. You're right. And next comes is the conditioning of the terms and conditions. This is commercial. The general terms and conditions of purchase is reviewed. Most of the times they give some deviations, and this is discussed in detail with the legal group and as well as within the commercial group. And finally, some agreed deviations emerge. And these agreed deviations should form part of the order. It should not be only between the buyer and the vendor and going into the files or records, but it should be forming whatever has been agreed has to be clearly mentioned as part of the purchase order. And the specific terms are, again, with respect to the RFQ, agree on schedule of drawings, documents, penalty for delays. Nowadays, we are putting penalty for delays in submission of drawings also, not only for delays in delivery, but also the submission of drawings, because they agree on a specific schedule, and then after receiving the order, vendors sleep on that and they don't give care for that. So people have started putting penalty for submission of drawings also. And then there is a delivery breakup, execution plan, sourcing plan, where they will source the raw materials from, etc. And where there is an Indian boiler regulations are there are additional steps are involved, because the vendor has to submit drawings for the Indian boiler regulations and get an approval before manufacture of the equipment. And similarly, for chief controller of explosives is CCOE, and CCOE is also requiring certain approvals for certain even instrumentation. And I remember we had a forklift ordered from Germany, from Linde, Germany. And forklifts came here very well, nicely. But it was supposed to be operated within a polypropylene plant inside the warehouse, etc. So that means they said that this requires a CCOE approval. But they had an ATEX approval, internationally ATEX certified approval, is there for the Linde. The CCOE, who is in India, he said that I don't care about your bloody ATEX and all. You have to comply with the CCOE approval. So this was going on because the vendor was in Germany, he has an agent in India, and CCOE is in India, and we are in India. We have bought not how many, some 90 forklift trucks or something like that for a huge polypropylene plant, and all other things are ready. And I cannot commission the plant without this forklift being there. And I need an approval. So we had tough time making them come here. They had to show the catalog. They had to show so many documentation, even though they were ATEX certified. So finally, they gave the CCOE certification, and then we completed the plant. So CCOE certifications can create a havoc unexpectedly, even though when you have got all the materials and equipment ready in its place. So So same way payment terms, bank guarantee, SBLC formats and LC formats, or it is upfront, it is better to discuss so that if there is any deviation at a later date, it can sail through easily. And same way taxes, construct of the contract, sometimes work orders, sometimes it will be split orders, supply order separately and installation order separately. And then what is the transportation arrangement? Is it by the client or is it by the vendor? And if it is by the vendor, he should not send through some local transport guy who doesn't know any route or anything and stuck in the way, on the way. That also creates hassles for us. And some of the equipments in the petrochemical thing, we require nitrogen filling after the hydro test is completed and dried, and any other spare. So this type of things, supply of commissioning spares, installation assistance, all these things have to be taken care of during the conditioning. And communication protocol also, progress review, who will be the guy from the vendor side once the order is finalized, what is the organization of the vendor. If that guy is not responding, who we will escalate to. All mechanisms have to be understood. Commercial bid evaluation recommendation, ensure all the commercial queries are answered, and basically loading factors, power differences, performance parameters, and deviations to the terms, or whatever loading has to be applied for these based on that loading. Then normally the life cycle costing is a technique established for the total cost of the ownership. That is how the comparisons are normally preferably and recommended to be done for the project orders and large equipments, and which will involve maintenance, asset disposal, training, cost of upgrades, etc. Also need to be considered over a period of time. Some companies will ask for 10 years, some companies will ask you to have a projection for 20 years, and during this process, sometimes the base cost may be very less for somebody, whereas the maintenance cost will be very high. So it is quite probable that whoever is lower cannot be the lowest always. So recommendation and these open points are generally commercial points are covered in negotiations. Here, this is another important tool, spend data analysis from the vendor rating. All these things come from the supplier relationship group. And supplier analytics team is normally kept separately. They go through the ERP system. If the product is purchased 5 years back or 10 years back, is it a repeat order? Who was the guy who supplied it? What was the capacity? What was the model number? All the details, they get it from the ERP system, from the purchase orders, including the price and technical details. So we will be able to compare, and sometimes we will be able to do extrapolation and estimate even the price, which should be in this range, etc. And applying some factors for raw material increases, etc. And the supplier relationship team, apart from this, provides the rating of the vendors from the engineering standpoint, procurement, and their manufacturing and quality, whether the rejections have been there or not, and delivery, whether they have been able to adhere in the previous orders, etc. All these things. And where this type of, once you do this abnormal differences, if there is abnormalities between our estimate and the vendor, we normally throw open this point to them. See, according to us, you supplied 5 years back this is the cost, and this is the model, this is how it is. And we have worked out price as X, whereas your price is coming as Y, which is 30% higher, 40% higher. What is it? Why is it? So that means before negotiation, the quoted price itself should be in the striking range or proper range, etc. is assessed here during this process. So the vendor is also knowing that we are doing some analysis. It is not just blindly we are going into the negotiation table. So they will give their supporting arguments for technology might have changed, some raw materials which have gone might have gone haywire or whatever it may be, or they may correct it also. That also is possible sometimes. So this is what we do. Next is the negotiation. Negotiation, according to me, the first step is a preparation. The quality time one spends in the preparation is much better for a successful negotiation. And develop a deep understanding of the product. Don't see, if you are an expert procurement practitioner, you just don't walk into the negotiation just without preparation. That may not be correct. See, you should study whoever it is, whatever, whether it is 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, experienced guy, whoever it is in the procurement team, they need to do some homework before going through, understand the product, understand the vendor, what he has quoted. Then you will have a meaningful negotiation. And references from the other procurement managers of the other companies, it is important, it is vital, you should take it. And the same fellow has given some reference that I have supplied to Birla's. Okay, go call the procurement manager of Birla and find out how the equipment is performing. You will get a lot of insights. We have got some insights earlier in my experience, and we almost stopped considering him further, because of the negative feedback. What was the feedback? The feedback was the system supplied by them was all right, but the servicing part of it, when they were doing the site services, they ran away. The engineer ran away halfway through, so without assuming the responsibility. So this is this is not acceptable to us. So when we asked, okay, a lot of other things emerged, that is a different issue, but at least this type of things have to be discussed and understood clearly. So then I come to the rule of is 73855 is the golden rule of negotiation. It is actually golden rule of communication given by Alfred Mehrabian. And he says actually the words matter far less than how you deliver them and your body language. Words make only 7% of the impact, and the 38% is how you say, because there is a way of saying, and the way in which you communicate is it speaks about you. That's how it is. One has to develop that skill. And the rest is down to body language. That means 55% is a body language, which is, that means there should be an intention. See, we are not going to, we should not, nobody, both buyer and seller should not go to a negotiation table without having an intention to conclude. It is not a, so the intention should be there. The buyer should have an intention to conclude with the seller, every seller whomsoever is meeting. And the seller should also have an intention to work with the buying company. Yes, I want to do this order. No, that intention should be clear, and that will be clear from the body language. If they are not, just for taking it for easy, for the sake of coming for the negotiation table, it will be reflected in the body language. And next steps I have given is basically successful negotiations depend on one, preparation in advance, which we saw already. Second is ask for what you want. Feel free to display whatever you want. It may be your desire. Like first step, you have to understand when you are preparing in advance, you will understand whether it is a absolute need for the vendor, this order, whatever we are finalizing, or it is okay. I have 5 orders. This comes, it is fine. These are all the things which will be reflected in the body language. And if you assess this situation of the party, what is their order loading, etc., whether they are in dire need or whether they are not. This gives us a feeling that yes, you will definitely come around to whatever are the discussions. So when you come to the next point, you ask whatever you want. You have 10 points to ask. All the 10 points may not be successful, but okay, put all the points so that you are at least free from your mind that you have asked whatever you want to ask. And something which is not working out can be discussed, because there may be some organization constraint from their side. See, I cannot do this because of this. So you understand at least, but you have discussed this point. You expressed your desire that to go ahead on this type of it. Then finally, seek a win-win solution, because this is where very important for a negotiator. You should leave aside your ego. You are not the buyer, and after all, we are all buying for our companies. But at the same time, we should also understand we are dealing with another human being, and we are dealing with another organization. If you give respect to the organization and their principles and philosophies, they cannot compromise. So you cannot ask for the compromise of their philosophy. Obviously, that negotiation will never work. So these are the kind of things, nuances one has to understand. We are talking in terms of a building of a long-term relationship between both the companies. That should be the objective rather than just a win-win. I got 10%, 5%. That is absolutely not important. So there are negotiations where I have got 0%, discount from the vendor. I was in Indonesia. I was working for a control wall. It was 500,000 worth, 500,000 US dollar worth order value when I was finalizing. The vendor from USA expressed his desire to come to Indonesia and meet us in person. So initial feel was, oh, he's coming all the way from USA to Indonesia. Probably is going to give me a good discount and I'm going to finalize. That was my initial feel. He came all the way, he met us, he saw the project organization. See, from an American standpoint of view, he wanted to know whether there is a real project here or somebody is faking him, right? And fortunately, we were our office was nearer to the project site. So that means he could see the construction, etc., unlike in the city office and all. And he saw all the people, the project team, like, okay, our project director was an American, things he saw. And then he got the confidence that he is dealing with a good company. That is most important. Okay. Then when I came to all the commercial discussions and asked for, fine, what is your discounted price? Then he said, sorry, I don't have any discount. I have 0% discount. And don't feel it bad, So I never felt bad. And the point here is what I'm trying to highlight is it is not for the discount we are doing the negotiation. It is for a company to company relationship to establish that. And he was very happy. We selected that vendor and he supplied that, and control walls have been working excellently. All those things are apart. Basically, that's a long-term business relationship we established there. So, and then practice is basically negotiation increases the ability based on whatever we are practicing. So I as a senior citizen now, I ask wherever I go, I ask, is there any senior citizen discount? So, so there is no harm in asking, And at the best they may say no, that is not there. But so the same way we have to think of this as a not as an official practice, but do it on a regular basis. That will help. And avoid always this best alternative to the negotiated agreement, what they call it as BATNA. That means if that fellow, with all our might and ability, we try and conclude, but if it is not concluding, what happens? So we should have an alternative. We should know what is that we will compromise on an alternative. Okay, based on the selection of final prices of the life cycle costs, the vendor is done, selected, approvals are taken, then the letter of commitment is given with a firm purchase order number from the system of SAP system or anything to authenticate your letter. It's not a simple letter, but it carries the purchase order number also. That's way, and it is also locked in the system so that from the purposes of integrity and things like that. So acceptance from the vendor company is obtained. The effective date is also normally either a letter of commitment date. And PO acceptance, then we should have a reasonable time for PO release and acceptance. That is also another area of concern in a project procurement. People take longer time because the purchase order is normally commercial things are prepared by the client company. The technical specifications come from the engineering company, and both have to be combined. And then techno-commercial order has to be given to the supplier company, and the supplier company has to read through and then give an acceptance. This process it exceeds normally whatever are the planning time. So, and some monitoring is required for this. And third-party inspection agency, normally it is when you are going for a large project, it is better to engage reputed inspection companies like Lloyd's and BVIS or TV2UV or any of these internationally reputed third-party inspectors, unless and until you have your own strong team, in-house team. That is rare today. Most of the cases, people engage these companies, and they have their quality requirements that has to be translated into review, witness, and all these points. And vendor will submit a quality plan, and that will be reviewed by this TPA, third-party inspection agency. And then finally, there will be a pre-inspection meeting, PIM. PIM is a pre-inspection meeting. It is definitely done at the start of the order at the vendor's works. Vendor, TPIA, and all these people participate, and detail engineering consultant also participates. There will be a quality guy in the detail engineering company as well. So they agree on the tests, witness, and review points. And at the final, when the equipment is manufactured, the TPIA and client's quality person, as well as client's operating guy, who is going to operate the plant, So he should also know the nuances of the equipment. So he will also participate at the time of final inspection. So that is the normal practice. So some cases, of course, if the company has not formed the operations team and operations guy is not available, that's a different issue. But it is normally operations guy take positions right at the time when the project is under execution. So then TPIA issues an inspection release note. Then post-order follow-ups, normally it starts with a kickoff meeting, which is the first one, which is 1 week, 10 days from the order, and reconfirm all the scope of supply, protocols, drawing document submission, etc. And they capture the dates for approval. See, normally the earlier dates, they will give some 10 weeks. It's not enough. You should say, okay, 10 weeks translates to from today, October 19th, 10 weeks, put that date there. And when will I give the engineering consultant will give the approval, put the date there. All these things have to be incorporated in terms of date so that we will know the slippages later, if at all any slippages have to be measured, or if they are given ahead also, it can be measured. So detailed manufacturing schedule, engineering, bought out items, and manufacturing within the shop, how sometimes it will be bought out and assembly. All these kind of things need to be translated into a plan and schedule. And the imported items, if anything is there, we need to see, for example, heat exchangers are there. The tubes will be imported from, let's say, Europe. And they will have to place the order for the tubes. If the heat exchanger delivery itself is 6 months or 8 months, and they will have to order the tubes within 4 weeks. And how will we know as a client that they have ordered? They will show one order. That doesn't mean anything. So we have to have an order accepted by them, and order accepted by the whatever company, tube manufacturer. And sometimes it happens that they have to establish an LC on the tube manufacturer. This fellow would have placed the order, that fellow would have accepted the order, but they would not have established the LC. Since they have not established the LC, that fellow has not taken up the tube manufacturing. We will come to know after 4 months. So that is not correct. So we should be always after this. Once you know there is an important item, so what actions the vendor company has taken, whether they have taken, if LC has been established, you obtain a copy of the LC, find out. All these things have to be done either by the project procurement team or by the expediting team, which is attached to the project procurement team. This has to take care of this. And testing and inspection, quality manual and adherence, I already talked about it, stage and final inspection. These are all done at the time of pre-inspection meeting. And normally when the third-party inspector is called, vendors have to be careful, because if they give a schedule, you come for inspection tomorrow, and tomorrow it rains, and this fellow is not ready, and the third-party inspector aborts the visit, but he charges the money for the client. So these abortive visits have to be also taken into consideration. So reviews with the subcontractors and sub-vendors, these are also to be done for engineering deliverables, because most often it is subcontracted or outsourced for the engineering drawings. So the same engineering one, I have an engineering company, and 2 or 3 vendors have outsourced to me. So I will be, so A vendor is also getting the drawing from me, B vendor is also getting the drawing from me. So I will have my schedule. So A vendor is asking, he will say, I'm not, why you are not submitting the drawings? My sub-vendor is not given. So it is important to go to the sub-vendor or outsourced guy also and have meetings. Monitoring, expediting, engineering deliverables is the key, because both the sides, that means submission as well as approval, both are important from the time schedule point of view. And then facilitate approvals, that is also required with the help of the project manager and detail engineering company. We have to see where approvals are stuck up, and EPC contractors, so they take the lead actually, and they will go deal with the client and DEC to obtain the approvals. EPC contractors, this is how they do. So planning and safety, both are important, and ensure that the vendor companies, now we are talking about the planning and safety at the vendor company. So what they follow, what they adhere. So they have to, most of the 90% of the vendors in India, I can say it confidently, they don't have a planner.
They don't have any safety standards. Yeah.
They don't have anything. So they will say that today you are doing a project, I will do as per what your requirement is. What is your company safety standard? I don't have anything, something like that. This is how the situation, unfortunately, but it is improving. I won't say totally bad, but the thing is the awareness is improved, basically planning as well as safety. Because our thing is safety is not restricted only to site. It is also restricted. It is coming to the shop. If the fellow is any accident happens in the shop, that means your equipment is delayed. So finally, project is delayed. So we don't want to have any situation like that. If the fellow has to wear a hard hat, or if he has to wear a gloves, or if he has to wear any safety things, he has to. So that is also insisted upon from the purchasing point, from the overall safety perspective to be maintained. We have to also take the vendors along with us into align with the safety programs. Then MS projects or Primavera is generally suggested to use. Now vendors are getting MS projects, projecting the plan there, and their insistence on deploying the project planning engineers to the job, and they monitor and report this plan versus actuals. They will always say, today, when will the equipment will be ready? October 3rd to 20th. So on October 19th, when will it be ready? They will say October 30th. Well, what happened to the previous commitment? So like that, the previous commitments are erased, and then they just put the new commitment, and the new commitment keeps on increasing without having any reference to the base plan. So we always insist that you should have the original base plan and then keep on putting your revised dates by the side of it, so that we know what are the areas you have slipped and how you have slipped, where you have slipped. And whatever course corrections have to be done, it can be done during the kind of discussions. And as I said, safety is most important. Shop and site work, adherence to the safety procedures and manuals, safety engineers' presence, that is also important during the job when the job is progressing. Expediting and follow-up, and following timely ordering, as I said, LC establishment in the case of imported materials, advanced status, manufacturing, testing, inspection reports, all these things have to be followed up. Bought out items, timely ordering and release of approved drawings, getting the manufacturing clearance. Because what will happen is after the engineering contractor approves, then only they will give the manufacturing clearance to their sub-vendor. So that step, if the engineering drawing gets delayed, approval also gets delayed. And sometimes engineering approval is given, then also approval, manufacturing clearance is delayed. These are all requiring a lot of monitoring from the project procurement team as well as expediting team. Same way, accessories, close follow-ups on the manufacturing status and date when the delivery will be taking place, assess constraints, if any. These have to be a constant churning for bought out items, raw materials, and subcontracted items. And the progress reports, review meetings and payments. Progress reports, periodical, whether it is monthly, fortnightly, progress reports have to be published. It has to be in the form as agreed in the kickoff meeting. And who are the recipients, to the project procurement manager, project manager, and a construction manager, as the case may be. It will be all circulated. And sponsor meetings will be held, project review meetings will be held periodically at site or at shop. And then higher management involving them is a sponsor meeting. And payment release is another key important thing which is vital for a project, because if you don't adhere to the payment releases from the client company, and no vendor will be able to perform, no contractor will be able to perform, and that is not what we desire. So it has to be monitored, and the digitization of invoices is helping today, and tracking of the invoices, the system, and reconciliation, payment reconciliation. And there you have the project procurement manager has to step in and ensure that the payments are adhered to as per the timelines, whatever has been agreed. Then import license, here again, that is an important point for the projects which are being done from India. Export promotion capital goods scheme to be obtained for imported items, where actually it is applied to the DGFT, Director General of Foreign Trade. with a no item list, description, quantity, weight, etc. This scheme has got whatever duty you are saving. You are giving a commitment of the product. You will get 6 times of the FOB savings, whatever value you are duty you are saving. 6 times that value you need to have a commitment of export of the finished product, whatever finished product in the next 6 years or something like that. That is the kind of scheme it is. And if the scheme is eligible for any of these clients, it is always better to get into it. It has got its own irritations also, which is what is the next item. If you are talking about a water treatment plant and as one single line item, and if the things are coming in 10 shipments, then the customs clearance flow will get confused. You'll say the first shipment when it comes, he strikes off the water treatment plant, and then next shipment onwards, he will put as a duty on duty. And so you have to give the detail. 10 shipments are going to come, first shipment, second shipment, all these. It's a nitty-gritty matter of details, but this has to be looked into by the project procurement manager carefully with thought processes to be given. And the final inspection when the equipment is ready, the final inspection call is given by the vendor, and hydro test or mechanical run test or as it may be will be done. And it will be witnessed by third party quality control and client people, operation team, etc. And then they will give something called an inspection certificate, dispatch clear, in TPI IRM, inspection release note. That is what TPIA gives an inspection release note, and this is reviewed by the quality control of DEC or detail engineering company as well as by the buyer, and then the dispatch clearance is given by the buyer. Then only the goods can be dispatched from the vendor's shop to the site. And the transit insurance is a separate ball game. Again, warehouse to warehouse, transit cum storage policy is generally taken by the client for the entire project. And dispatch clearance, as it is given, the buyer has to give the details to the insurance team or directly to the insurance company, as the case may be, and keep the transit insurance cover. But for ODC, that's a separate ball game again. So you have to submit, you have to have an insurance company, surveyor, the lashing and all those calculations, loading calculations, how much you are putting, and what is the kind of lashing you have done in the equipment on the ship. All these things have to be submitted to the insurance company. There will be a surveyor at the port of loading, and there will be a surveyor at the port of unloading. There will be a surveyor who will come along with the equipment to the site and see up to that point, insurance will be in picture, so that there is no damage or anything to be on the ODC equipment. And freight forwarder is another select. You have to appoint a freight forwarder, so you have to select some freight forwarder, just like vendors. For him you have to give him all the information. What are the imported equipment? What are the things? When you are expecting, which country? What is the kind of weight or volume, etc. And then get their quote. And then once you select, you have to appoint them. Then you have to give them advance intimation whenever this equipment, based on the progress of the equipment, so that they give the information about the shipping, and accordingly you have to manage between the vendor and the ship. As I told you in the beginning of the seminar, sometimes there could be a gap, so you have to be smart enough to find out how the gaps can be filled. And then you have to coordinate with them and get the bill of lading. And this bill of lading has to be given to the supplier, and he will put it through the letter of credit for us to get it through the bank. And for consolidation of small cargoes, that is also possible. Small cargoes in various places in Europe can be consolidated. This also is possible through the freight forward. Transport, again, the scope of logistics and transport provider. This is for larger equipment, it is a route survey is a must, and it should be done. And ODC, all the more, it is mandatory to do a route survey from the port, how it goes to the site, and what is the route and en route. And for scope itself, sometimes the transportation will be in the scope of the vendor. Sometimes it will be transportation will be in the scope of the client. So if that is so, then we have to be very clear, and then whether they will not send in any shoddy trucks and things like that. They will have to be very clearly specified if it is in the scope of the vendor. And if it is in the scope of the client, you have to organize place the vehicle at the right time when the equipment is ready, so that there is no delay and the vendor shops, and there is no problem of handling and loading and unloading business on the transport. That is one. Second is the next is the custom clearance team. Those people appoint the custom handling agent for shipping documents. Once the shipping documents are received from the letter of credit from the finance team, and they will file. The buying team hands over to the customs clearance team, and then they appoint the CHA. And using the shipping documents, they file the bill of entry, pay the duty, port charges, clearance, and then they take up responsibility up to transportation to site. But the PPM or the project procurement role is to keep tab on this and coordinate with them and get the information and feed it to the project team as well as construction team when the equipment is coming, because it should not come unexpected time to the construction people, so that they are ready to receive the equipment and place it on foundation or wherever storage is. And final documentation is a submission by vendor, review by DEC, or soft, O&M manuals, and IBR, CCOE. I explained the importance of these certificates. Normally, a last payment link, whether it is 5%, 10%, is linked with this, so that the vendors are motivated to submit all these documents in time and take it seriously. Then the commissioning services, there will be support required from licensor, there will be support required by vendor, then availability, especially foreign countries means again visa and for their stay, food. They will expect a Western type food or European food. It may not be available at site. These kind of things have to be properly handled. And otherwise, there are instances where licensor companies, commissioning engineer came here, he became unhappy and he went back. Or sometimes they will come during the Christmas time and then they say that I have to go to Christmas. So this kind of things we will have to anticipate actually. Then closeout is the last one, determining the delays and penalty for bonus as applicable, and all those change order settlement, etc. Warranty achievement is normally commissioning is done and guaranteed parameters are achieved or not. All these things have to be taken care. And contract management, I have just touched upon one slide. It is basically a consulting federation of consulting engineers, commonly known as FIDIC, 50 years of operation internationally. You can refer the website for all the details. But they have these conditions of contract they have developed, and it is easy. And there is a red book, yellow book, and whatever silver book, and various books are there. For EPC contracts, it is, I think, silver book. And there the conditions are specified, and all this, like whatever we discussed for a procurement, all these contract conditions have to be discussed. There are some 20 and odd conditions, specific conditions highlighted in the FIDIC conditions. And there are different types of contracts, which are cost plus contract, which are it could be reimbursable contract completely, or it could be a fixed price contract. These are all various types of contract. And here, the key thing is for all the contractors, the issue of drawings, construction drawings, approved for construction drawings from the engineering company. It has to go with the latest revision. That is more important, because you cannot operate and build a plant with the old revision. So now the documentation through online apps are helping. TeamShare, Procore, PlanGrid, or some of the softwares which are used. So that means today, if I am in the engineering company and I am changing a drawing today, a revision 1, it is immediately reflected today itself at 6 o'clock, at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the site. And the site engineer carries iPad and he has the drawing straight away and he is working on the latest revision. That is the advantage. And last is the supplier relationship management, and this registration profile, quality of products. Shop visit is a must before registering any supplier. So that is a mandatory. And then segmentation is done normally based on the spend data criticality. If you take criticality on the y-axis and x-axis is, let us say, spend, and the higher spend, higher volume, and critically higher, that those type of vendors are most important. And these guys have to be developed on a long term and medium term, establishing a relationship. So the performance measurements are agreed. Okay, engineering, quality, delivery. Okay, engineering, we will supply error-free engineering drawings. Number two, no, timely submission of drawings and all those things. Quality, how much no defect-free items supply. Delivery, on-time delivery supply. Client support, supporting post-order after delivery or for troubleshooting anything. All these things are made as a scorecard. It is discussed with the suppliers, and the supplier management or relationship team discusses on improvement plans with the supplier. The select suppliers are taken for collaboration, and then they can develop also for products together. So those cases, it becomes easy for the vendor list. If you have developed this type of thing properly, next time when you are doing a project for these items, you have already a select suppliers who are already in the approved vendor list. And risk assessment is a separate topic, but I have having touched the whole project procurement. Periodical assessment is a must, and review with the team, take corrective actions as appropriate. And this will keep on changing as a dynamic, and proper review and actions are mandatory. I can tell you one of the small examples is one cooling tower vendor. We had ordered some 50 and odd cooling towers for a project, and he got into serious financial problem because of some other client slapping an LD on him. So the company was almost coming to a closure, so no progress. And this company was an Italian company, and then the Italian directors used to come, and we found out a solution with them. We didn't cancel the order and go to another fellow. We found that risk is there. So their problem was cash flows. We said that we will give some cash flow measured with the progress and the milestones we agreed, and then we came out of the thing. So this type of a thing happens in a project unexpectedly, but we have to be geared for that. Next is a platform technology and automation. Companies are gradually embracing this platform technology because it is no more manual. Bayer in Germany have given an example of Thrive, which is some select suppliers are given business challenges, and then they come out and help give their suggestions, and that is taken. And that becomes a business partners, suppliers. And same way, Nokia has got the business challenges are published in the online portal open, and access is given to all Nokia suppliers. Startups and other people who are inventors can always give their suggestions and come out with the solutions. In India, you have Zycus, iValua, GEP Smart, Oracle, Copa, SAP Ariba, all some platforms which are in the digital procurement, procure to pay, P2P, they call it. And, but the problem I have found is none of these platforms were in a complete A to Z, completely they are not able to do. They are doing bits and pieces, and in between actually manual interventions are happening, because every project is unique in its own way, and there are certain specializations in each project, and which may not be possible for these type of companies to build a system exactly tailor-made for each project. So that is why some sort of a via media. So wherever a lot of manual work are there, people put it together through the system, and remaining things have to be used with human interface. And deployment of drones on high resolution images, it is helpful actually for maintenance and inspection. See, tall column of 100 meters structure is there, whether the bolt has come out or bolt has got corroded, how will you know? In a petrochemical plant, it can create a disaster. So drones are used, and they will go and take a picture and come back, and the bolts are completely corroded. Yes, they can take a preventive action before actually anything happens like this. So these are all certain technologies that are being used now. And I would like to add a couple of points here, which is not in the slide before concluding my presentation. See, we have been mourning the death of Ratan Tata and Tata Group. So I have got all regard for the Tata Group for the immense work they have done for the country and nation building. So one of the related stuff in the topic today, the supply chain management, is when they launched the car Indica. So what happened was they decided they wanted to make a car in India, Tata Group. They said that if India can launch rockets and they can go into the space and do a lot of things, why not make a car in India, totally indigenous? That's how the thought came for Indica. And what was decided was 100% of the components will be from India. So they analyzed there were some 3,800 or close to 4,000 components were to be manufactured. And what they did was they put a complete supply chain management team, worked on 300 vendors they developed. 300 vendors, new vendors they developed, approved the quality of the components. And then it created some 12,000 or 13,000 jobs, because of this. And believe me, in 1998, they launched the first car. I think it was 98% indigenous components. Okay, it had problems, but to manage developing 300 vendors and managing 4,000 components, it's not an easy task. It's a challenging assignment for the Tata engineers. And they did it, actually, Tata Motors. It's a great thing by the legendary leader, Dr. Ratan Tata. And similarly, we were talking about technology agreements and commitments. See, I'll tell you a small story and to conclude this session. And see, the Tata people were in the Tata engineering and locomotives. That means they were supplying locomotives to the Indian Railways in those days. And when Telco was there initially, I'm talking about before independence, 1946 or something like that, the Tata, JRD Tata and Mr. Sumant Mulgaonkar traveled to Munich in Germany. In 1946 and all, there was a World War II, and Germany was devastated completely. And they received these people for their purpose was to go for the locomotives, technology discussion. And what they did, Cross Buffet was the engineering company there in Germany, and they said, we have got two or three engineers here. They are jobless because of the Germany situation. Please take them with you and feed them, and you can use them whatever you want, and they will be very good engineers for you. So the Tatas agreed for this discussion, and they took those fellows here to India, and they used them in Telco, Tata engineering locomotives, and they created wonders. Afterwards, the Tata started giving locomotives to the Indian railways, and those guys became very big and contributions to the Tatas. There was no technology agreement, nothing. It is a human, no consideration. And they came and they were given money in terms of salary and housing and all those things in Pune. Later in 1950, Tata sent out a letter to Cross Buffet, and Cross Buffet directors received a letter from Tata Group saying that it is decided by the Tata's management that we will give so much compensation to you for sparing your engineers to us who have been working with us. That engineers have been paid a salary separately. This is an appreciation fee to them. So Tata's wanted to pay that fee. That was regarded as a great gesture by Cross Buffet people. And this has been published in 2005. An article has come from the Tata Group. I'm not telling any story of WhatsApp or something, but it is a actual story, real-time story. And more than this is the height of it. Because subsequently Tata Motors in 1950s and 60s, when they had wanted to supply something to Germany, they were asked to give a bank guarantee. So then they went to the bank and they had some problems in establishing a bank guarantee of the required conditions asked by the German counterpart. So then when they went to the German embassy, they said that why we don't require any bank guarantee from Tata's. You write on your letterhead, it is enough for us. So that is the kind of respect they carried. So in this example, what I'm trying to highlight is there is no technology agreement between them. And there is no compensation fee like I will pay man hour rate, man day rate, etc. in a written down agreement. They just took care of the engineers. In those days, and getting that approval, we were under British government. So if German fellows are going to come to India, British fellows would have rejected them. So they just came and they helped. And that has been regarded as a gesture. This is how the building of relationship happens. This trust basis, it has happened. It's wonderful, actually, to hear this gesture. So that's how I would like to conclude this session. Over to you, Mr. Abdul.
Thank you, sir. Fantastic story from Tata's.
Yes.
More we hear from them, the more we are pleased to have somebody like that in our country. Okay, we are very proud. Okay, so these are lessons for every engineer, every businessman in the country, and every citizen. Yeah, that's something very good to hear. And it was fantastic session. It was just like it was something like a abstract of a book, project procurement management. Well, I really enjoyed hearing you, Bhagwanji.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic session, and I believe it's a big topic. It cannot be covered in 1 hour or 2 hours.
Yes, you're right. See, normally I take it these type of sessions as a one day, one day, sometimes 2 days with case studies and things like that.
Audience, I would like to hear from Raghavan for a specific session. Please contact us. So we will just try to collaborate and deliver it, whatever you want to do. Okay. So having said that, I would like to quickly brief what Data Labs do. Okay, so let me share my screen because we already run we're late, but still, I'll just take a few minutes to share my screen and.
I should stop now.
Yeah, I'm sharing it. Sharing it. Okay, so it must come.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're able to see the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we do in Data Labs India, basically we have supply chain execution systems. Okay, so it includes manufacturing execution, warehouse management, transportation, fleet management, and global trade management. So we do have an ERP in place, especially this ERP is targeted for mid-sized companies.
Yeah.
Our manufacturing execution, warehousing, and transportation are for mid to large organizations. And then we have tools for supply chain planning, which includes like a demand planning, demand forecasting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then other part of supply chain planning, MRP, MPS kind of thing. We do have supply chain control tower to connect, to have the visibility of inventory, orders, and capacity, and then also a collaboration. Okay. So we have a combination of all these into a supply chain business network. If somebody wants to have a custom build business network for them and then for their customers, for their vendors to operate in one system, yes, we build them a custom build business network. Okay, to operate in a single system, the whole supply chain ecosystem. We do have a strategy management solution where you realize your strategies through any frameworks like balance scorecard or OKRs. So this is a complete strategy transformation solution for CEOs. If they want to use one solution to transform their strategy, yes, this is the one. We do have some services, which is very important. So we implement SAP, and we are also partners of IBM, Oracle, and Microsoft. We have some specific software we implement. In IBM, we do planning analytics. In Oracle, we do EPM, and then in Microsoft Dynamics, we talk about Dynamics 365, F&O, and BC. We do consulting. We help organizations while doing implementations. Many organizations need consulting services. So we talk about strategy transformations, supply chain excellence, enterprise integrations. If there is any disparate systems, we help them to integrate, and then to help them to do the digital transformations. Okay. So and we help them for these digital transformations. We do the project management for them. Okay. This is a very quick view, and we follow the latest technology. All the technology platform are latest because we started product development 5 years ago, so it's a more, the technology is more latest. So that's a quick thing. I'll stop screen share, and I take this an opportunity to thank Mr. Raghavan who patiently explained all this stuff of project procurement management. I think I really enjoyed it. Okay, I really enjoyed and I learned a lot. And it was like a revision for me. During my projects, I interacted with many. I was part of project procurement teams, project teams. So where the procurement is one of the key area. So it was like a very nice information